Dungeon podcast ! Just so everyone knows, because I've been told I have a hard time, or people can't understand when I'm intoning on certain things. Like no one can tell when I'm being sarcastic or asking questions. So welcome to What's in the Dungeon podcast. I am your host, co-hostess with the mostest, John, and this is your second co-hostess with the mostest, Murph.
With the least amount of most.
I think you've got mostest than me, so we're doing well. This is a podcast where we discuss D&D related topics, D&D related questions that you have submitted. I mean, ideally, you would have submitted them before now, but you haven't submitted any. So, all of you suck ass. But we...
right out of the bat.
Yeah. Look, Murph, I'm trying to embody how rough I look right now. I'm wearing my glasses. I haven't shaved in like a week, so it's
I like the.
This is all I get in a week. It's just this and a little bit of that.
It took me 6 months to get to where I am.
I mean, it's luxurious, Murph. You could rest like a small squirrel in that, and it would be quite comfortable.
A hummingbird, and that's about as close as I get.
But yeah, this is a Dungeons and Dragons podcast where we discuss Dungeons and Dragons related things. Sometimes not Dungeons and Dragons. Sometimes it's other TTRPGs, which stands for tabletop role playing games. We had a bunch of questions last time that Murph asked me. I am the person who answers questions. Murph is the one who asks questions. That does not mean I know how to answer the questions, and that does not mean that Murph doesn't know how to answer the question. There's definitely, I think, a good level of knowledge and skill between us. Just because I'm answering questions does not mean I know how the question works. If that makes sense.
Consider me the conduit of novice.
Yes.
That you might be.
Yes.
And he is the voice of an experienced dungeon master, but not the be all end all of knowledge of such. It's just I'm here to answer or to ask the questions on your behalf that you might be too embarrassed to ask your more experienced friends.
Yeah,
and to open up topics about
how do you do sex in D&D? How do you do sex in D&D?
I do. I know that's a joke that we've made.
Don't.
I do want that to be an episode where we discuss what makes the difference.
This is not a podcast for your sick fetishes, Murph.
And then like what makes just like fucking sexting.
Yeah, basically. It's sexting, but like with pieces of parchment exchanged back and forth on the table.
I pull out, roll for initiative.
Yeah. Oh.
You won. You failed.
Oh, damn.
Congratulations on your child.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm sure the bar orc will appreciate the child support.
Absolutely. We've got
we cover some awesome topics here. If you haven't,
this is our third episode, but only the second of which you can view because I am the best stream manager ever, and I forgot to check a box on Twitch where it saves our views. So
okay. I don't think I announced on Twitter that we went live. So
well, Murph, we're batting 1,000. We don't have any questions. I haven't uploaded the thing to YouTube. You didn't put anything on Twitter, and we lost our whole fucking first episode. We're gonna be sponsored so fast, like this.
We are the masters. Can I just point out? So, like, obviously, if you look up Dungeons and Dragons on Twitch, it's huge.
It's massive.
It exploded. And a lot of people who you might not realize or might not care about, but there is a lot of people that have started D&D podcasts of varying levels. Like, there's one like on specifically what we covered last week, which was just character creation. There is a specific podcast of just min-maxing characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my ex, who I got really big into D&D, would just like make characters for hours. Like just that was their hobby. That was just what they did. They just made characters for like instead of playing a video game or watching a TV show, make a bunch of characters and like binder full of all these different characters never used. And I was like, okay.
Like full backstories?
Yeah, like all three character sheets, the main one, the spell sheet, and the backstory. And it was like, damn. And then I don't think they ever got used.
It's like a thing where like if somebody's like, I just want to play, like we're doing a one-shot.
Yeah, I mean, and it's cool because it's like it gets you really in the habit of knowing how to make a character. And once you flesh out enough of the mechanics, it's good. But I don't have that kind of time. And also, if you listen to last episode, you kind of can understand that I will only ever play a wizard because That's all I play in any video game.
You know, is it so strange to me that, like, I have a friend of mine. His name was Cheney.
Oh my god! Don't dox him. What are you doing?
Nobody knows his first name. So Cheney and I went to high school together.
His name is Dick Cheney? Oh my god!
DJ. So he only ever played as Wizards. And anything that we ever played together, when we talked about games that we played, he only ever played Wizards because he's like, I fucking love Magic. Like, the idea of Magic fascinated him so much. And it was the whole thing of, like, it's the one thing in life that I can't do. And weirdly enough, like, in the sense you relate, I'm the exact opposite.
You have magical powers in real life, so you're trying to get that escapism.
I wish I had the ability to edit lightning.
I'm so tired of my powers.
I just want to be a normal man. No.
Yeah. Very angsty.
I just, for whatever reason, when magic happens, like, I'll learn healing because that's definitely the most, like, useful in terms of practicality, like, immediately, because, like, outside of, like, producing water on your own, like, survival magic, like, not like the ability to light a fire, the ability to produce your own water, and the ability to fix a broken bone.
Murph, have you heard of Fireball? Have you heard of Fireball?
Okay, hear me out. But I can also do that with a bomb.
But Murph,
surprise!
You can't conjure a ball of flame and shoot at something. You have to pull a grenade out of your back and throw it at them. There's definitely one that involves a lot more badassery.
But I can do
in fantasy
like one or two of them per day.
Yeah,
and I can do the other one for as many times as I have one.
Well, as many times as you have a bomb, but if you're a wizard, you get a lot more spell slots than just 2, because Fireball is 3rd level spell, and I think you get like 5 or 6 spell slots. And then you have items that give you more, and then you can get like a wand of Fireball, and then you can get like a staff of fire, and then you can get another item, and they all have charges of fire. So you could just like Fireball.
Like, realistically, if I have a grenade and some twine, I can make a trip bomb that you can't.
Yes, but the main issue with that is that there's not, most settings don't have gunpowder, so you'd be like, maybe like alchemist, like you could try and get like an alchemical reaction going, but most settings don't have gunpowder, because then it's like, glycerine. I've got a sniper rifle and I shoot Blargax, the demon lord, through the skull. Surprise.
Technically there is it's not real, but there's a gunslinger class.
Yeah, well, but that's very toned down. They don't have like AKs and RPGs.
I'm saying, like,
he's got
buses exist. And
I think he's got a pistol, and he's got a carbine. I think he's got a sniper like type thing. He's got 3 different guns.
Yeah, he can still destroy Blargax from 300 yards away.
No. He's got things.
He's a ranger, but with more punch.
Also,
a ranger could blow up at arrows.
Also, they have to roll on like a table for like if the gun jams or if it backfires. So there's always a chance that you'll just suck ass. Like,
so are they using like a magical component?
No. It's got gunpowder. It's just like 1700s type deal where it's like it's
colonial weaponry, like rifles.
It's a longer. Also, I think so. I don't want to spoil it, but I think the story behind Critical Role's Percy, the gunslinger, is that he gets given the idea for a gun, like the plans, by some type of like otherworldly entity or dark power or something. I don't know.
George Washington stepped through a rift. George, like, you need this.
Dick Cheney, actually. Dick Cheney came through and he said, here, son, take this and shoot someone on a hunting trip, and then make them apologize to you. But no, it's different. So it's, I don't even know what we're talking about now, Murph.
So it's like you're a Magic user, and I just think it's funny. It's like in games, I never play a Magic user.
What
it is. Like, I always go. I guess it's because, like, I'm not the strongest individual ever. So the idea of getting to be larger than life, and like, I punched my way through a dragon corpse.
And meanwhile, I'm obviously built like a dump truck. Like, I am so physically fit. I'm just like, man, it would be nice to have like a spell instead of being able to punch through walls all the time, because I can do that. I could just.
You know what my biggest fear is? I think subconsciously I just realized I would not be intelligent enough to have magic.
Oh my god, Murph! But it's escapism. You can be whoever you want.
They give you one of those like anime style like character cards. You have to scan a crystal and it's like, here's your attributes, and it's like dumbassery 100. Intelligence is like a 7. Like,
that's okay.
Physicality is like a 6. It's like, man, you'd make a great custodian.
Absolutely. Anyway, so we left off last time with a question that Murph asked me that was worded in such a way that it was a little bit confusing to remember. It wasn't confusing to understand. We had some trouble remembering, but basically it was, what other setting or entity or IP or world is a good analog to use to introduce people to the concept of D&D. Not necessarily to play D&D with it, but maybe just like so they can wrap their head around how D&D works. And
if somebody asked you what is D&D,
yeah,
you could say comparatively it's like insert the blank here, but different.
And I didn't think about this question until today because I'm horrible and suck at this. But the reason I thought it is because the new episode or the new series of Stranger Things came out. Stranger Things came out. Stranger Things all over the place. Stranger Things came out, and we're rewatching all of it because I don't fucking remember what's happening in Hawkins, Indiana. The whole concept, and I was telling Troy about this, was it's a good analog because you've got basically the creators, writers, and directors created this world, right? They said, all right, this is the world of the United States, this is the world of Indiana, this is the world of Hawkins, this is the world of the 12 main characters. And, okay, let's expand that a little bit. Okay, what's happening in Hawkins, Indiana? Okay, there's this government... spoilers. Don't listen if you don't want to be spoiled of the first and second season. There's this government facility that's doing tests on, energy and psychic manipulation and all this other shit. And there's like a jailbreak and this girl escapes, all this other stuff. But this is happening on a scale that if no one interrupted anything, it would have continued, right? Like, it wasn't like they set something up to where it's like, oh God, now everything's got to happen. No, it was literally just, this had been going on for probably 50 years at this point with various people. And because of one character's choice, because of the choice of Will Byers to take that road, instead of going home, he took Mirkwood, or he took that certain road and he saw the Demogorgon and got, because of that, it started this whole chain of events. But even during that chain of events, every character in the show plays a person that's in that world. They're not playing like the stereotypical hero. Like, we just watched an episode where Jonathan and the girl, who I cannot remember for the life of me. Huh? Nancy, yes. Jonathan and Nancy are like super pumped up trying to find this animal, trying to find out what happened to her friend Barb. And Jonathan just like gets riled up by Steve and punches him and they go to jail. Like, it's like, it makes sense if you think of if he's playing his character Jonathan, but not if you think of he's playing the hero of the saga and trying to do stuff. And that's what I use when I try to get people into D&D and like playing their characters. It's not, don't try to play the hero. Don't try to play like how you think a certain person would like act in a situation that would get the best outcome. Act like your character would. Like, and that's why I like this series so much, is because there's this happening in Hawkins, Indiana. There's this happening in the United States government. There's this happening in this little lab. And, it scales outwards and inwards. But each character inside this is doing things as if they're a real person, not as if they're, written to be the hero of the story, written to be the villain of the story. Like, there's points where you go, well, that's not a good decision, but it's a realistic decision. Like, that's probably a decision I would have made if I had their perspective. It's like, it makes sense, as opposed to, most shows, movies, video games, you play the hero, you do all the right stuff or all the bad stuff if you want to be the villain, and it makes sense because it's very cookie cutter. It's like, okay, they saved the day, they did all this shit, and there's still times in the show where it's like sort of cookie cutter, but it's so well written that if you removed any one of those characters, it wouldn't work. Like, it wouldn't work. Like, if you remove Nancy from it, as little as she does actually a good amount in the first season, but if you remove Nancy, Jonathan would have never had the impetus to go and do anything. Like, he wouldn't have had that spark to go do something. If you remove Hopper, his Will Byers' mom would have never had that second look into shit. Maybe my son isn't dead, like, because she's been convinced by her ex-husband that he is dead. So there's all these different characters all playing their different role, and that's really what D&D is. It's everyone playing a role that keeps the story moving, that keeps the story going. And ideally, if you move any of those players out, the story gets a little bit boring, because it's like everyone was building up to a point, which is, again, the difficulty playing D&D because of opposing schedules, conflicts, personal issues. It's like you build this story with people and then you set it up, you watch it go, and then like halfway through someone's like, I can't show up for 4 weeks. It's like, fuck. Okay, well, you've just ruined the whole momentum. So the equitable thing would be like, what if in like the third episode, Steve just isn't in anything for like 3 episodes, and then he's back. It's like, what the fuck? What? It doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of comparable to people falling out, dropping out of all this shit. It's difficult. But
I think that happens in a lot of other IPs.
Yeah,
especially like Netflix has the. It's not just Netflix. A lot of shows now, especially the queue and tying this in, they film for whole seasons all at once, so that there's no questions about schedule conflicts. It's all happening right there, so that you never have to lose that momentum unless it's based off the story. And a lot of network television shows that film weekly, you'll have characters that just can't be on the show anymore, and you have to figure out how to do it, or the writers just won't explain it and stuff. So that it's kind of the same feeling. It's like D&D has the potential to be a solid form single season show where everybody can play, but that requires the environment to be perfect. So it's more like a network television show where you're like, and that's, which is fine, because that's for you as a DM, is because you have to kind of work around that in a narrative way. Yeah, it's definitely. Like, you've been playing. You've got a halfling thief that's been, kicking ass this whole time and has kind of been leading the point of the narrative. And they're like, hey, man, I just had a baby. I can't be here anymore. Yeah. And you're like, well, shit, do I NPC the character and keep it moving? Or do I get rid of them completely? Or do we kill the person off? Or...
And there's actually, there's a really good example of this exact issue in Critical Role. Like the first few episodes, there was a lot of drama. This is like 10 years ago. Not 10 years. I don't know. Fucking 8 years ago.
One individual got like in the scandal, whatever the hell it was.
So they had a character who played a sorcerer. I don't want to be weird about it, but it seems weird to dredge up things. But there was a character who played a sorcerer who got into some shit and was difficult to play with. So they uninvited him, basically. I think I don't know. Google it.
Do you remember
if you really want to know
person's name, perchance?
Yeah, I do, but I'm really against saying people's names.
No, it's just I'm trying to think if it's the same person. I think can you say their first name and leave it at that?
His first name was Orion.
Okay, it's not who I thought it was.
Okay, yeah, no. He
Sorry,
was.
I thought it was somebody completely.
He was. This situation wasn't somebody left. This situation was a little bit different. He had some issues. They had some issues playing with him, and he was kind of just not a good fit from what you could tell.
Vibe with the group.
Yeah, and I think that it was a little bit sad, a little bit of issues, because he was like he was playing an important character in the group. So they kind of just. Like Matt Mercer took over and played his character for like a couple of bits, and then basically he disappeared. Like they in the story they wrote that he had to go off somewhere else, and I think later on he shows up, and like further on he shows up, and Matt Mercer plays him again to like kind of complete his arc to some extent, because they had these big sprawling backstories that like they had built together, and it was cool. But in that instance, like you could, as sad as it is, the minute he was gone, the group got a lot more cohesive, and there was a lot less, like they weren't fighting, they weren't bickering, there wasn't any like super big issues, but you could tell there was more of a tension, and there was more of a desire afterwards to like work as a team. And I think that that's also an issue. You think of like all the issues that come, maybe this is the episode where we talk about all the issues that happen in D&D. So you got like scheduling issues, but then you also just have personality conflicts, and it's not like someone's a good or bad person, it's just they don't work well with the group, and that's happened before. Like you have, especially as bad as it is, from what I've seen and what I've played, it's usually people who have DM'd before who make really difficult players, because they have in their mind this world that they've built. They've got this magical world that they've built in their mind, and okay, maybe it's done, maybe they've taken a break, maybe they've paused, whatever it is. Then they insert themselves into someone else's world, and they don't realize that it's a whole different set of rules. It's a whole different set of mechanics. It's a whole different game. But in their mind, they're still operating from that standpoint. It's like culture shock. It's like if you took someone from America and stuck them in New Zealand and with nothing and just said, deal with it. I mean, it's probably not as bad. I don't want to make light of, that sort of thing.
But a topic one for us, America to Portugal. Enjoy.
Yeah. So I think it would be, it's difficult because they're so used to running things, and they want to do things their own way, and they know the rules, and they just read the Dungeon Master's book, and they know everything, and then they get stuck in this other world, and it's like, fuck, this isn't how I want things to go. It's like, well, it doesn't matter what you want. This isn't your world. In a nice way, you have to kind of work them through that into playing a character, because like I remember I used to DM all the time, and the first time I played a character, I was very difficult, because I was like, I know the rules, this isn't right, I know how spells work, I know all this shit, and it was like, bro, chill, you're not you're not in charge right now. Like, even if it was the rules, which I think I was probably wrong, even if it was the rules, it's not your fucking world. The DM can do what he wants to some extent. Like, don't be a dick about it.
Explain, like, the one time with the magic uses where, like, the different schools and all the...
Yeah, that was a very bad decision on my part as a DM, but everyone kind of went with it, and then they didn't make a fuss when I got rid of it because it was bad. But DMs often, at least from my experience, have a bit of a struggle playing because it's like they go from complete control and, well, they can't control the players, but a large amount of control to, well, I'm Ted Smith and I am a barbarian and I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know how this fucking works, because they go from playing, basically 200,000 characters in a world to playing one, and it's like, oh, okay, I gotta spend a lot more time on this one character as opposed to maybe like 10 minutes on each of these other characters.
It's the same idea that I would have is like God woke up one day and was just a dude.
Yeah, what if God was one of us,
whoa.
Murph? What if God was one of us?
Yeah, just like a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home.
Yeah. So
it still kills me that that's Ozzy Osbourne's daughter.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I
Spleeb, 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 spleeb.
Yeah. I don't even know.
90s reference.
Yes.
So
you're so old.
yeah.
Murph.
So that's. I mean, it's an interesting thing to do, but I feel like that's that kind of translates to a lot of things, though. Like, it's not just DMing that can be a problem on, though. Like, that translates to all aspects of life. Like, if you were like a store, or in some cases like a store manager, right? Like, and then all of a sudden now they have like a corporate individual coming in for oversight, and now you have a micromanager over you.
Yeah, and that's,
you went from top to lower
to middle. Yeah,
thing.
It's difficult.
But as we talked about, like, D&D reflects life in a lot of senses. Like, whether it be, political issues affecting mindsets that go into specific aspects in games, social issues, work-life stress. Maybe you become super pissed off at the fucking barkeep because the barkeep in your real life,
because he looks like your dad, and dad left for smokes 20 years ago.
You meet an orphan child that keeps complaining about not having parents. You're like, I also didn't have parents either. Dick. I punched the orphan because I've been there.
In the words of Mike Tyson, fuck them kids.
Yeah.
Don't piss him off, Murph. Don't make fun of him. He will find you, and he's behind you, Murph, right now. He's in the cave.
He's in this cave. Which today's cave is brought to you by Zartax.
That's the name of the boss in my campaign.
Yeah, he's keeping me here. I've actually been kidnapped. I was in a nice normal cave, and then he transdimensionally warped, grabbed me, and took me into a land of the Fae.
My stream is brought to you by generic red soda with zero sugar.
Is that the 0 calorie, or is that the...
It's Coke Zero Sugar. That's what it is.
I have to ask a non-D&D related question.
Murph, we have about 50% of those on this podcast. Yeah, so I think you're fine.
I'm putting a disclaimer out. How is it that you got into those particularly?
I have always not liked dark soda because it's heavy, and I don't know how to describe that. It just sits heavy in my stomach.
Okay.
And also I grew up really young. The only soda I ever drank, because my parents didn't want me drinking, so the only soda I ever drank was Diet Coke, because my grandma drank Diet Cokes.
Okay.
And we would always be outside working, so it was kind of like a cool thing to be like outside working in like my granddad's garage, and then come in and have like half of a bottle of Diet Coke. So I always preferred Diet, which is because most people who like regular soda and don't need to drink Diet prefer it because Diet soda has that like taste or whatever. I don't know. It tastes different, but I don't have like a bad taste.
No, it definitely does. It doesn't bite as much.
Yeah.
As a regular
and soda. So then, actually at work we got Coke Zero, and actually like 5 years ago, and I was drinking Diet Coke, and I was like, well, let me try Coke Zero, or zero soda sugar in general. And I like it. It's got zero sugar, but it's probably still got
sugar or zero normal sugar. And
no, it's still got aspartame in it, which is a sugar substitute.
Yes.
Which
my grandfather was very anti-aspartame.
Yeah.
Before his death.
Well, so that was aspartame has been linked to cause like dementia, bladder cancer, all this other stuff. But the test that they did on them, they fed like the rats such concentrated doses of Diet Coke and Coke Zero that like it's humanly impossible to drink that much Coke and survive, period. So it's like you have to ingest so much aspartame to get the chance of having this happen to you. So it's like
true, but I mean, but you're looking at it from like a thing that they're assuming, especially now with Americans, that you're starting very young and consuming a specific amount over a large amount of time before the end of your life, when that would affect you in the front.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at this point, we talked about this the other day, but with my gene pool, like, there's like a Russian roulette of diseases or genetic issues that are going to kill me. So I'm not going to begrudge myself a zero sugar soda once a day.
I was completely healthy until 2020, and then everything
Murph, everyone was completely healthy until 2020, and then we all just got fucked in the ass. 2020 was the
year of latent diseases and death.
Everyone got fucked in the ass in 2020.
That's the new D&D. Diseases and death.
Diseases, death, and D&D.
It's D&D, but it's made for like the plague doctors.
Yes. Oh my god. But yeah, I think we sort of answered the left off question, which was I like using Stranger Things.
The only reason I asked about the Coke is because like the zero sugar ones, I don't know, just have like a certain aftertaste that kind of reminds me of medication personally. So I don't know what it is. I can handle a Diet Coke. I prefer a Diet Pepsi to a normal Pepsi just because of the, like, I don't know if there's just like a sugar content removal that makes it less sweet, but
I gotta find a soda that doesn't donate money to political campaigns of horrible people, because I got off a Diet Coke or Pepsi Zero Sugar because they donated a bunch of money to support politicians who supported a bill I didn't like. And so I went to Coke Zero, and then it was like, well, then this thing came out about how Coke donated a bunch of money to political campaigns of people who did another thing. And I was like, fuck, god damn it. Also, to your point,
they're going to give money to anyone that's going to give them money back.
True. But to your point about medicine, Coke and Pepsi were first invented as cough syrup. So it was like, that makes sense. And do you know the reason that Coke and Pepsi taste different?
One is designed for cold
serving,
and the other one is designed for warm.
Coke was made before refrigeration was invented. So it was basically made, the recipe was made to be room temperature, whereas Pepsi was invented after refrigeration.
They also use different preservatives for that.
Yeah, obviously there's different ingredients in there, but like the main difference of why they were made differently.
Pepsi I think follows a similar, and this is going to sound really gross, and I'm sorry. Pepsi follows a similar formula to bag milk, not Canadian bag milk, which is highly popular. Bag milk, like long preservation bag milk, which is activated after first refrigeration. So like Navy guy, the milk that we got would show up in boxes in 115 degree weather. Yeah. And like normal milk instantly curdled. It'd just be disgusting. But this was like a gelatinous like milk blob.
Why did y'all need milk?
Well, it's just a comfort.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's like if you drank water for 7 straight months on deployment, you'd go insane.
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
It's good for you, but like they want to give you things that take
Okay. Yeah,
it's
random
small
question.
Stressors, cereals and stuff. So they have these milks and they bring it in, and it only ever became milk after it reached a certain temperature.
I like how you worded that. It became milk only.
Yeah,
it's like
because if you
it was formless and void.
It was terrifying. But like
you open the bag and it's just like TV static, and then you put it in the fridge and it's milk.
It's like picture something that naturally goes from a yogurt with an oil sheen to something that resembles fat-free milk, like skim milk.
I already can't stand milk, so this discussion has made me even more turned off to the idea of drinking something that came out of the cow's udder.
Just remember, my ship got really popular back in 2016 when I deployed. We got this boat, we got food on a shipment, and it went viral because it said not fit for human consumption on the food.
You were on that. I forgot about that. Yeah, not fit for human consumption. Well, it's a good thing you're not humans.
It was like, we're not even that poor and we're eating this. What's going on?
It's like, damn, can I just get a burger? Jesus.
We talk about it like they joke all the time. And again, I'm not saying this politically. I am a vet, so obviously I support vets. I don't support military decision making. I support troops as people. The fact that they are like, we are the greatest military in the world. Okay, debatable based off of we're the highest funded.
Yeah.
But your soldiers and sailors and Marines are eating.
They eat shit. They eat absolute dog shit.
Like qualified dog food.
I had a friend.
And it's like, where the fuck is that budget?
I think
we bought a $27 billion boat, and I can't feed people.
Feed people.
Like priorities.
I remember. I think everyone probably has one of those friends that's like in ROTC and super like pro-military going into it before they're even like of age to think for themselves. They're like,
yeah,
they're the ROTC. They do like all the shit, all the extra stuff.
I was an ROTC kid. Yeah, I get that.
But like that's their personality. And they like, I had this one friend who would just get, because his dad was in the military. It was like a chief or something. He would just eat MREs. Like we'd go camping or we'd go to like events with like bonfires and stuff at the beach. And he'd just bring MREs. I'm like, why are you choosing this? Because he'd be like, oh yeah, they're great. Here, have some. It's like pancake. I was like, this tastes like sand.
You got to remember that there's an entire market out there.
Yeah.
For prepper food.
Yeah.
Which is like a 10-gallon drum of freeze-dried powdered chicken and dumplings.
Yeah. It's insane.
So like the food quality in some of them is not terrible.
It's not terrible.
I can tell you that you're like, this is an edible thing that I could do.
It's survivable, and that's I think the point. But if it's
your like MRE, or we brought fresh chicken to put on a griddle, and anyone choosing MRE is into diarrhea.
I don't know why we can't do like the 1700 sailors and just bring livestock on the boats and butcher them and cook them while you're en route. Like just bring a bunch of cattle, bring a bunch of chicken, bring a bunch of turkey, slit their throats halfway through. Great, now we've got a barbecue. Okay,
I know you're joking, but I can give you a legitimate answer for this. We were constantly cleaning, like genuinely, like 3 to 4 times a day, deep bleach, deep clean, as much as a bunch of lazy ass fucking people would do.
Yeah.
But it's still like 5,000 people cleaning is very small.
It's efficient. Okay.
MRSA still fucking ran rampant.
Yeah.
So picture.
Okay. Yeah. Let's not introduce other foreign contaminants. Yeah. Jesus Christ. And back to that point on preppers, like, okay, good for you. Good for you trying to survive, all this other shit. But if the world's going to go to shit, I'm just fucking ready. Like, why do you want to survive in a post-apocalyptic waste? It's not going to be like Fallout. It's not going to be like Mad Max. You're going to be dying of, like, diphtheria, and you're going to have, like, all this other shit going on. You're going to get, like, bed sores and shit. You're not going to see sunlight. You're going to get vitamin D deficit. Like, you're going to fucking hate your life. Why?
Preparation only makes sense if it's specific events that happen.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like,
if we look at like we were talking about it the other day with me and Kim were talking. There was a Steve Carell movie with Keira Knightley called "Looking for a Friend for the End of the World."
Yeah.
And in that movie, there are preppers that they meet, and in theory, what they're doing makes sense. They fortified like a heavy concrete area with a big door. They got air purifiers. They've got a specific amount of ration food that will last them like 10 years between the people that are in it. They picked, and again, this is not picking a side here, but they picked specific men and women who had good genetics.
Yeah.
Reproduction needed to happen. Like so like they planned it out very efficiently. But the thing is they didn't take into account that the asteroid that hits the Earth in that movie literally breaks the planet in half, destroying the atmosphere. Can't purify air if there is no atmosphere.
No.
Doesn't matter. So preparation only works for things like
very specific things. Like, okay.
Yeah, like mass blackouts across, like
financial collapse, nukes, governmental tsunamis, like earthquakes. Yeah. You've got to have like a very specific thing in mind, or you've got to go way too broad and survive less. It's like you can.
They always. Like my dad is into prepping for some reason. Very low key prepping in comparison to the people.
He's just got the one bunker. Bunkers. He doesn't have like
he doesn't even facility. Do the bunker thing. He's just like he lives in an area and he farms, not in any real sense, but like he has land that he cultivates and stuff. And that to me is fine, right? Like he has guns, obviously, because from the South, but
that's a thing.
He's not like flaunting them. He's not, he buys enough ammo that he can feel comfortable with himself, whatever. And he's like, now if somebody tries to mess with me, I can defend myself against it. It's like, whatever.
Is your dad Texas? Because you don't mess with Texas, and you also don't mess with Murph's dad. So that means your dad might be Texas.
No, Texas is the first country that has like shovels required in every house.
I like how you said country.
Finally succeeds, they can just dig a trench around the state and call it a day.
Yeah, I don't
What's
think
crazy to me is I feel like it would be easier to just separate Mississippi from the country than it would be to dig a trench around Texas.
Yeah, because the river, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's funny to me, the prepper thing, because it's like, there is a whole market of people going, that's like the people that sell like asteroid insurance. No one's going to be alive
to collect on that. Who the fuck cares?
Market of people who are paying for that. And there's some guy out there that's buying all of the 40-gallon drums of pancake mix he can buy.
It's like the fascination with gold. Like all these preppers you see, they're fascinated with precious metals. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? If the world collapses, if society collapses, if the government's gone, people are going to want to toilet paper, food, goods and services. They're not going to want your shiny gold coins. No one gives a fuck.
That's the thing, though. Is
Robert Duvall doing his commercial on Fox News about, I invest in enterprise capital with my gold. Get the fuck off TV. No one's going to get gold when the world's gone.
And that is a question I've asked multiple times. And again, relating this back to D&D, it could be the same way. Because it's like...
Yeah, we do have to do D&D stuff, don't we?
We all, as a planet, have, for whatever reason, agreed that this one shiny rock is the basis for all of the economy of the world. Gold standard, it may not be as prevalent as it used to be, but it is the basis of currency, right?
It used to be.
It's not oil at this point, but it is gold. Gold and somewhat diamonds.
Well, right now, the currency is fiat, which means that it's as valuable as the trust we put into it, which is reflected in like the stock market and the Fed. Basically, things that people don't control. It's based on things the government and private institutions control.
Except like we can pretend that we can look at gold and go, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like Cole's cash. That's how I equate like Bitcoin. It's like Cole's cash. You have cash, you can only spend it at Kohl's, and you only get it by spending money at Kohl's.
I'll be honest,
but it's never equal to the amount of money you spend at Kohl's, and it expires at a certain time.
If Fortnite made a cryptocurrency, it would do 10 times better than Bitcoin did, because V-Bucks are basically cryptocurrency.
Yeah, Troy jokingly asked for like 10,000 V-Bucks for his birthday like a month ago, but I could tell he was semi-serious about it.
Yeah,
and would have been okay if I'd gotten him that, if he hadn't moved on to Valorant.
But like with the idea of like a precious metal being a thing, like we genuinely have fought wars over the idea that if we hold a whole bunch of yellow rock, we are now financially better off than you who hold a whole bunch of yellow rock. And it's like, I get it. Like, it's like, I got to prep and precious metals are the way to go. But like, if I was keeping precious metals, you know what I genuinely collect? Brass.
Yeah, things that can be smelted down.
Ammunition uses brass, and it's way more versatile than gold, which is malleable. It's not very useful.
Yeah. Also, Murph, not to get like all psycho on your ass, but if you've got more brass than they've got gold, you can use your brass to take their gold. If you get what I'm saying, you can kind of do a little vigilante. You could be like,
a bunch of useless shit around.
Give me your fucking gold, because I got brass. They'll be like, but my gold's more valuable than your brass. But yeah, I can kill you with this brass. And then, unbeknownst to you, you triggered the pressure plate, and a vat of molten gold falls on you. And they've killed you.
The only other use of gold is to melt it on people.
Yeah, as we've seen in Game of Thrones.
I have a golden statue of this guy. Oh, that was well made. Yeah, I literally melted a gold onto a human being.
So this is primarily a D&D podcast, but also, little did you know, it's random bullshit.
Look, it's whatever we want. Okay.
Basically, we also do not have questions this week, so we're a little bit off kilter. It's okay though.
No, it's fine. But we're also recording a day earlier than normal.
True, that is true.
Various schedule reasons.
I forgot about that.
Just whatever. Because as long as we talk, we're actually kind of touching the subject anyway, which is world building for this today's episode.
Build a world, live in it.
Yeah. So we're kind of doing that. We're talking about different things that can accumulate to, like, is there a gold shortage in your world, and is that worth building a campaign about?
Yeah. So world building is it's obnoxious because you can D&D or Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro, whoever the fucking company is, has books, right? They've got. Well, Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, who owns the Dungeons and Dragons. That. Yeah, it's all Hasbro. Yeah,
that's a monopoly. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, no, they own Monopoly.
The fact that they also
own Monopoly. Yes. They've put out books like over the years, and 5th edition has 2 different kinds of books in general. There might be a third. They've got setting books, and they've got settings. And like rule books. So the setting books, I don't think rule books is actually what it's called, but the setting books are like worlds that D&D has created or spawned out of itself. It's the most popular one is Forgotten Realms, which includes like Neverwinter and Baldur's Gate, and it's the world of Faerun, and
I did not know Baldur's Gate was like a thing outside of the game.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate is set in Faerun, the Forgotten Realms, etc. It's the most popular realm, I think, just in terms of it's so versatile, and they've really spent a lot of time building it. And most of their settings are in that, like most of their campaigns are in that. There's also Eberron, which is a little bit more like futuristic. They've got light rails. They've got interplanetary travel. Their magic is a little bit more, advanced, or starts to look like modern technology. You've got Dragonlance, which is more like your high fantasy setting, like your Tolkien types thing, which doesn't Dragonlance setting does not get a lot of. I think they reportedly there's one in the works, but it doesn't get a lot of love because I think it was very popular in previous editions, so they wanted to focus on other things. Another thing that they have, like in other worlds, they've since Wizards of the Coast owns Magic the Gathering, they started doing a few years ago like integrated product selling, basically where they have worlds in D&D that are set in the worlds of Magic the Gathering. So like Strixhaven. Strixhaven was a new one that just came out. It's a setting in a like Harry Potter-esque school universe. But Strixhaven first was a realm in Magic the Gathering, like part of their story. So like all their different ones, like Ravnica is one. Strixhaven, there might be another, but they kind of all mesh together and form D&D. So those are the campaigns. Then they've got the rule books, which generally guide how the worlds work, either yours or these created ones. There's lots of rules. There's the Dungeon Master's Guide. There's the Player's Handbook. There's the Monster Manual. They've got the new set of 3, which is Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Universe, and Multiverse, and then Xanathar's Guide to Everything. These like 6 books kind of encompass everything that the players will need and the DM will need to play the game. And the other books are kind of where the game takes place. But you can always create stuff. So like and then there's other like side campaigns, like Ravenloft is a campaign which takes place in a demi-plane inside of the Forgotten Realms or any other realm that you want. Ghost of the Salt Marsh is a campaign that can take place anywhere. So they have specific campaign books. Sorry, not to get too technical, but they've got setting books like Eberron, Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, other stuff. Then they've got campaign books which have specific guided adventures. Favorite of which is Curse of Strahd, which takes place in Ravenloft. And each one of those specific campaign books, they give you like ways that you can incorporate it into any realm. Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, Eberron, the others. They give you ways that you can put them in there and like places they might appear. But there's always like a preferred one that it goes with because that's originally where it was created. So you can use those to just use that world. Like Forgotten Realms has source books for Baldur's Gate, for Waterdeep, for Neverwinter. They've got source books for lots of other things going on. Eberron has its own source book. There's another one coming out soon that's going to be really cool. It's what is it? It's basically one that takes place in space and the astral plane and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's a setting. I forget. I've got it wishlisted on Amazon and pre-ordered. I can't remember what the fuck it's called. But it's really cool. Like it's just a different type of setting and it should be fun. So you use those. You can either just set your world in there, right? You can just say, all right, we're having an adventure in Baldur's Gate. This is what's happening. Or you can say, all right, I'm going to use the world of the Forgotten Realms. I'm going to use like the continental map, and it's going to take place in, the town of Drudgerton. And Drudgerton's half a mile between Phandelver and half a mile between the gates of Sorok. And that's like a made up thing. And you can do whatever you want. And that's what's fun about creating a world is it's fucking whatever you want. Just do what you want.
Right.
You have to have a pretty decent imagination. You have to have a good level of creativity. But even if you don't, just Google a bunch of shit. Just be like fantasy shit. Because no one's going to come to your D&D game and say, fuck no, you can't set your world in the world of Mordor because that's Tolkien and he owns that. And you can't do... Fuck off. They're not going to do that. And if they do, don't let them play with you. That's annoying.
Okay, two tangent questions about that.
Oh, yes.
First, I just realized what shirt you were wearing, and I appreciate that.
Oh, yes.
It's the
what the fuck? What the fuck? No, it's what the fuck.
I love that shirt, man. I was wearing the black one on the last.
I know, yeah.
It was really fun.
We're gonna alternate.
So the first question I have is you mentioned I say question. It's more of just like your opinion on this. So you talked about the crossover with Magic the Gathering.
Yes.
I think it would be super interesting to see like a hybrid game between D&D and that, in the sense that the spell cards that you get from Magic the Gathering are usable in D&D. Like your spell book is based off of the cards you acquire from one game.
I see what you're saying, but I think that would have to be a separate game. I don't think you could play D&D just like
D&D
that.
with that. But that would be such an interesting, like a role-playing game but like the battles that happen between characters are based off of the
cards, yeah,
and not just like, oh, okay, well, I swing my sword.
I roll this, yeah.
Like it would bring like it would make things a little longer, obviously, but like but there would be like a condensed version of the rule set, and then like that could really really change the tides of things, because it would be like there'd be like a DM's deck and then like the players' decks of what they would do, and it would be more than just Magic. It'd be like specific skill sets.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Like a quick version of a card-based D&D.
Yeah, there's actually there's a game called Aeon's End Legacy, which is sort of like that, but it's cooperative. So you play like a story-based game where you go through the game collecting cards, spells, and you can change out your deck. You can customize it. You collect more cards as you're going. It's a deck building game, but there's like a 9-chapter story where you fight bosses, you fight minions, and you go through. I actually played it, I think a year ago, or it was right after. It was probably 2 years ago now. But it's actually pretty fun. So that's sort of games like that. They have like deck building games with stories, which are pretty cool. But I get what you're saying. It wouldn't work well with just D&D in general, because D&D is a lot more loose than that, and MTG has such a robust rule set that you really have to follow to play the game. Whereas D&D is more like, fuck it, who cares? So that was the first tangent question. What was the second?
Yeah. No. So continue that thought though. I think it'd be interesting. Like, we've both played Boss Monster, which I think is a fantastic little.
We just played that yesterday.
Yeah. I saw it on your table. That's the reason.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to see a game similar to that, where instead of playing multiple dungeon monsters, and you're trying to see who can accumulate, isn't it souls? You're trying to collect souls.
Yeah, you get souls or wounds. So you want 10 souls, or you take 5 wounds and you die.
And then everyone else plays people trying to get through dungeons that they created.
Yeah. And there's probably a game like that, just because I used to be deep in the board game rabbit hole.
It would be like a Mousetrap, except it's procedurally generated by a person. And it's like, let's see who gets to the big bad at the end.
There's a game called... Fuck. It's not called Fuck. It's called something.
That is amazing if it was, though.
There's a game like that, but it's cooperative, and the dungeon is built by the board and like the cards you draw. I mean, it gets played out, and then you advance dungeon by dungeon.
Betrayal on the House on the Hill, which is one of my favorite board games of all time, is similar to that.
Completely
build it.
Complete side tangent that involves our personal lives, but I'm gonna say it because I forget. I bought for friends House on the Hill Legacy Edition, which is amazing, and I've played it before, like years ago. I bought one for friends, and they gave me a second copy by accident. So I have a unopened House on the Hill Legacy Edition that you have to play with like the same group of people. We should play that like occasionally, because it requires at least 3 people.
I didn't know that there was. So what's the difference between the one that I have and that one?
So this will be a great side tangent, because it has a lot. No, not really anything to do with D&D. Any game that's called a legacy game, it's so much better because it changes as you play it. It's not just like, and that's my biggest gripe with any board game now, because I've played so many legacy games, is the game stays the same basically. Like nothing really alters based on your decisions. It's like Skyrim. No matter what you do in Skyrim, you kind of get the same outcome. Maybe you killed the Emperor, maybe you didn't. Maybe you joined the Dawn Guard, or you sided with the vampires. There's very few choices that matter, and it's fucking annoying, and I dislike that about Skyrim. In legacy games, as you play the game changes based on your decisions. So if, example, like the first chapter in House on the Hill, if you decide to chicken out of something and not slay the demon boss and take his deal and exchange your soul, that will have consequences on the 13th chapter when you're trying to defeat that demon boss who now has your soul.
So it's like a more fleshed out version than
it's got legacy games usually have a pretty good story like that you follow. It's like a video game in that respect, and your choices will change the outcome of the game. And then at the end of the game, like however long the legacy edition takes, which is usually hours and hours and hours, the game can be replayed, but it's going to be different than anyone else's final copy of your legacy game, because you will have gotten rid of certain tiles, or putting certain stickers on that no one else put on, or have unlocked certain items that no one else has unlocked. As long as you don't cheat and just open everything at the start of the game and do whatever the fuck you want.
So with that, does that work with the? I hate saying DLC because they're called expansions, but does that work with the Widow's Peak
No,
expansion?
the Widow's Peak is only for the base edition because the Legacy version already has so much shit in it.
To me, it blew my. That was okay. I know they exist, and this seems very simple-minded, but not a board game player in that sense. Like board games initially to me were like Life, Monopoly.
Yeah.
Tabletop RPGs were like blew my mind. So the fact that a game I enjoyed had an expansion was so cool to me.
So cool.
Because Widow's Peak opened up like it's like almost thicker in terms of story outcomes than the base.
It's
game.
really cool.
Like, jeez, it's such a cool game to me, man. And then they did the downloadable guide for creating your own character, so you don't have to play.
You don't have to play the generic whatever.
And that's so cool because you can literally play as the people sitting at the table to see how. I love that. I love that so much. It's so cool.
There's a.
I've always wanted to do that.
There's a game you should look up. It's called Gloomhaven. It's been rated like the #1 board game by a shit ton of people, and they're working on the sequel right now through Kickstarter, and they're like in production right now for Frosthaven. But it's huge. The game itself I think is 10 or 20 pounds, like the box. It's like $150. You need a box organizer, like separate. You have to buy to keep all of the pieces intact, and like it's just so fun. Like it's probably my favorite board game, and I've played hours and hours and hours of it. It's so good.
You got me for Christmas
Fallout.
last year, the Fallout one,
yeah.
which, not to sound ungrateful, I haven't had an opportunity.
No, you're fine.
It's not that I haven't had an opportunity. I haven't had a reason to open it yet because board games I don't think you can play that by yourself.
You can't play them by yourself. And there are ones that you can play by yourself, but it's boring to play a board game by yourself. It's like, it feels sad because it's like
Solitaire, which I feel like is the lowest version of a card game that you can play.
Yeah, so. It's just a time waster at that point. It's not fun. The point of a board game is fun. If you play board games on your own, no hate. It's just I can't do that because I'd rather just play a video game or watch a TV show.
I was going to say there's something else. At least then I can pretend I'm talking to someone.
Yeah,
there's audio and interaction.
Yeah.
So,
anyway,
so much.
There's
idea.
Murph, I've probably spent about 10 grand on board games over the last 3 years.
But see, but no one can judge you on that because I have bought 10 grand in probably fast food last year alone.
That's true. Well, I probably had that as well. So,
like, the thing is like, if you enjoy it, and this goes for any hobby outside of something that is like
offensive and disgusting
to your health.
Yeah.
If it doesn't affect anyone else, if it genuinely makes you happy, and again, a non-destructive way.
Yeah.
If it's something that doesn't make you live outside of your means to accomplish, like you're not living in poverty so you can continue to buy it, or you sell drugs so you can afford to buy it, kind of thing. Like
as long as you meet those three criteria, make a note.
You're good. Like, it doesn't matter what the hobby is. Like, I don't care how weird it is or how awkward. It's as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, doesn't hurt you, and it doesn't cause you to live out of your means.
Yeah,
go for
which
it.
is why D&D is great, because D&D does not require a shit ton of like. It doesn't. I mean, you can go all out and buy all the fucking books and spend $200 on everything, but even then, that's a low entry fee for a hobby that you're going to spend probably 10 hours a month on. Like that's not bad. I mean, and it's something that doesn't go bad either. Like,
you'll spend more money on video games probably than you will on D&D
definitely.
For the average player.
Definitely for the average player. I mean, like, I probably spent more, but I've got like every single book you can get. I've got like the cards,
but you've taken on the mantle of DM and playing a DM or being a DM, unless you're just like illegally ripping all of your guides and stuff from the internet. Like, you want to invest in that because that is a thing you've stepped up to. Again, the average player, all you need is a character sheet. You can get that from Google, and you call it a day.
Super easy.
You buy some die, maybe, that kind of thing. But, like, once you start, it's like any hobby. You can buy an acoustic guitar. It doesn't mean you have to go buy a $7,000 sound system. Yeah. It's when you have advanced yourself and your interest to the point of needing to buy those things because your need is there. And that's for anything. The coolest thing I've ever seen, speaking of shit you can buy for D&D, there was a place in a town I'm not going to label, but it is near us, and we were there yesterday, area.
Portland.
There is a...
Because we're...
Oregon. I love Oregon.
Yes.
So warm all the time.
Yes, and rain.
I drink it directly off the gutter.
That's great.
That's why I'm so physique. No, there was a place, a specific place that is they call themselves a game store. It has like some classics like PS1 and 64 games. But like if you can picture an L-shaped building, the small part of the L is the video game and like posters and stuff. The big part of the L, and I actually don't know if they're open anymore, but when I lived there, there was this huge section, and like a third of that section was a back room that you could rent out for.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
Warhammer and that, but the front half was a guy who made custom models and landscapes, and they had this huge table that he had taken like a train diorama. Am I saying that right?
Diorama, it's the same.
But he had converted it into a full country D&D setting.
Yeah.
So like had trees, it had a river, it had different encampments and stuff. And you could just come up and play on that if you wanted to. And I was just like, that's the most awkward shit I've ever heard of. It'd be like going into like a model shop and just like setting up a D&D campaign.
Well, that's a lot of these. This might be another topic. Is these stores, these hobby stores, these game stores, they do that. Like the one that just opened near me, like a month or two ago, literally has just a back room where there's like 3 tables set up with 8 chairs each, and you can rent out the room, or if there's like. They have certain night, like Monday is always Magic night because that's like what Magic billed it as. Like you go play Magic on Monday nights.
It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments are huge.
Yeah, but you can go, you can play with friends, you can do like a pickup game, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And then in the front of the building, there's card games, board games, D&D books, regular like other TTRPG books. Like it's just that's most of these game stores. That's what they do. They make their money from renting space out to groups because roommates or the house isn't big enough, or you want like a setting dedicated just to playing D&D.
It's a halfway point for people.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have to drive all the fucking over the place, and it they also have all the books and the dice and all that other shit right there. So
you can helpful. Rent them. You can literally like borrow for renting the space. The place will give you the resources in exchange for. See, okay, I'm a very simple man, and I say this all the time. I am pleased and satisfied with minimalistic effort involved. 2 things in my life I want before I die. I want a bar who knows who I am, and that I have a regular order at that they know.
Yeah.
Like just a plate.
But you'll be like Norm from Cheers.
Yeah. Norm! The thought of, like, not everybody has to like me, but like the wait staff knows who I am, and they're like, Murph, you want your usual? And it's like, yeah. And it's a beer and some fries, and I sit there and I conversate. I watch whatever's on TV for 15 minutes, and then I go home. Something like that. And the second one is I've always wanted to have like a local shop that did that kind of stuff that I could go to and just hang out with people. Like you're there and you're looking at a guide or something that because maybe they have an edition that had a misprint in it and it's a collectible, and I just run into you there, kind of stuff. Like, oh hey, what are you here for? Oh, I'm looking for an N64 controller, and you're like that kind of thing. I would love having something local like that I could just be part of that community, because it's so hard to meet people of similar interests in life.
Yeah.
Like you can find people online all the time, but like bumping into someone with similar interests to yourself gets harder and harder as time goes on.
Yeah. And I think that's why D&D is such a good, sort of bridging gap for that. It does take a little bit of learning, but it's not like you don't have to put too much time into it. You don't have to be of a
you didn't join the military and have to go through a whole book.
Yeah, you don't have to. There's not a high entry level fee. There's not a high knowledge gap. You can just pick stuff up, go with it, figure it out as you go along if you'd like. I'm not that kind of person. I need to know like everything before I do anything, because that's just me. But I know people who just will pick it up and be like, okay, I'm gonna play Normus Borgus. He's an orc. He's a sorcerer. What do I do? And it's like, okay, we'll just play the game, figure it out. So that's kind of cool, and I like that because it's why the game is fun. You don't have to. It's not like my previous sort of community thing was raiding and WoW, and that was just fucking toxic and horrible, because you'd finally get a group, you'd finally get everyone scheduled together, and then someone would like backpedal into fire and set the whole raid chain off, and everyone would be pissed at this one. It'd be just like you couldn't even have fun. It was basically a chore, logging in every day, trying to get your dailies done, trying to do your quests with people, trying to get your raids done.
Of those games rely on that.
Yeah, and it was like
how they get their gameplay hours is because they like
you have to spend so much time just waiting around in a queue trying to figure out who the fuck is on and who the fuck can play. And then it's like, if you don't have a group, you have to LFR it. And LFR fucking sucked ass last time I played. It's been years. But it was like, you just get a bunch of shit ass idiots. I mean, not that I could judge. I was pretty bad at the game myself. So it's like, you know, I was backpedaling.
Primo example that I have for that, and I have a friend of mine that, Big John, to the opposite of you, the one that I referred to as Big John.
Yeah.
He is in, and I have been very gratefully, not anything against them, I have been invited to their Discord, and I still have it. I don't play, but I have the Discord still. He is part of a very tight-knit Final Fantasy Online raid group.
Yeah.
And that game is, I think at this point now, the largest MMORPG on the planet. Like, it is, has big. More congruent play, to the point where they were not only not selling the game at one point because of the amount of players they had, were overloading servers, but like the fact that they just had to buy like, I think like $750,000 worth of new servers to hold the game for people. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That community, I played it way back in the day, like right out of high school, like in my apartment, started on a PS3. It will consume you. Like, it is one of those things that, like, it becomes part of your life. Like, before you realize it, it's like, okay, wake up in the morning, check my party messages before I go to work. You know, get back. Okay, 5:30 sharp. Got to get on so we can take on this specific dungeon because we got to get the loot drop because it's a timed event and I got to go in and, oh, what do you mean Steve's not playing today? Well, who's going to be the healer? Okay, well, now we got to go out into party options and try to figure out in the world. And it's crazy to me how involved it gets. So people that do it, like my buddy Rick Blair is what he goes by now. Rick Blair, fucking phenomenal individual, super into lifting, great. Fucking dedicated WoW player. Like, holy shit. Like has a model of his character that was like thousands of dollars worth of investment to make. Great. Not me. Can't do it. I have one MMO that I still play, and I wait like 3 months between logins because every time you come back in, they celebrate that you come back because it's been so long, and they give you just a fuck ton of stuff.
That's awesome.
They're like, you returned, here's 3,000 gold. And I'm like, that's more than I'd make in a week of playing, so thank you. Sorry, that was my tangent.
I can't imagine.
The fact that you were able to do that for, I don't know how long, but the fact that you were able to put up with that, good on you, because I wasn't one of them, fam. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I did that. I was in that world for a long time, and then I just got to the point where it's like, it's a fucking chore. It's a fucking chore to log in, do shit, get stuff done, and you're not even friends with these people half the time because they're just people who are in your guild. They got invited 5 years ago by some person you were a friend with who doesn't play anymore, and it's like, it's not a fun game. I don't like any type of, and that's why I'm so like I don't like multiplayer games like that, because they all tend to be some type of grind that I just am not comfortable doing, and they all require some level of community involvement, which I am also just not a fan of. Like, I just don't like playing games with other people because they're always random.
Unless it's like a immediate story-driven co-op kind of experience that you would get in like a Call of Duty multiplayer, not that like the PvP, but like the story-based co-op kind of games. You're really not, I mean, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, every multiplayer experience is grind-based or, you know, like fucking time event kind of bullshit. Like, there's not really a game. I mean, other than like maybe Minecraft, which is just like you can play for the sake of playing. It's like, let's get together as a group of people and exist in the same space.
That's how it works.
It's more of a reason. It's less of a game to play and more of just something to do with others at that point, because it's like,
and I get that.
We can't see each other in real life. Let's just talk at the same time as we do whatever occupying thing with my hands while we're. I can't knit a sweater on Discord while we're talking.
That's essentially it.
I want to learn how to build a computer in Redstone, specifically on Minecraft, because, well, I have 3 hours to kill, so. That kills me, though. That kind of stuff. There was a game, well, like, okay, with Troy, like, I got him into, and I apologize because I don't know I don't think he's as into it now as he was, but he was really into it at one point.
What game?
Fallout 76 was
yeah, he's
I championed that game to so many people. I had, I think at one time, 16 people playing with me which was the only game in the history of the existence of my life, the only game I've ever been able to convince people to play with me. And then they all started taking it way more seriously than I did.
And you're like the introducer.
Beaten the whole story.
Jesus Christ.
And like him and Denny have done like all of the like side quests and stuff, and I'm like,
yeah,
bro, I just come on here to like shoot things and kind of walk around.
I did that with Elder Scrolls Online because it was like that one multiplayer game where you didn't have to like play too much with other people to get the story done, and it was a good story.
You could just play.
Yeah, you can just do all the quests, get the story done, figure shit out, the different pacts, you know, the 3 different ones.
Can I give you a kind of a controversial topic on that game?
You can give me a controversial topic on the game. I will allow that.
Or a controversial opinion.
I will allow it. I will allow it in my court of law.
I love ESO. I've never in the history of any other game ever, I have bought every DLC for that game that's come out.
Okay.
Not including like the Clockwork DLC and stuff that was like
the stuff you have to like buy
every expansion though.
Yeah.
Every expansion that came out. Even if I didn't play them, I have pre-ordered and paid for. Okay. And then I'd wait 2 years before I even pick it up. I don't know why that game in particular I have done that for, but I have.
You see my eyebrow that's going up, Murph?
Yeah, it's doing the rock thing. I can smell what the John is cooking.
No, this is not a rock thing. This is anything. I was doing this before the rock.
The podcast. Can you smell what the DM is cooking?
No, that wouldn't be good. We have our own thing. Gross. I think this is a good thing. We can't change it now, Murph. We can't rebrand midstream.
But my opinion here is I think the game got worse after the vanilla.
Okay.
After the expansions, I think it's not that the expansions are bad, because I did like seeing like Skyrim's I like all of Skyrim's continent like hundreds of years before the event of Elder Scrolls V, which is cool because you get to see what cities were like before the Thieves Guild took over, and you know, before Jarl Ulfric was chilling and stuff like that. Like, it's cool to see that, but my thing is like ESO has the worst way to introduce an expansion.
Yeah,
of
it's
any
just
MMO
you get like a ghost. A ghost tells you, "Oh, this is happening," or you get a message in your inbox, "Oh, this is happening."
Not even that. I got so pissed off because they have the new one coming out for that specific group of islands. I would go get the map of Tamriel, but I'm not going to do that right now. But there was like so I'd like gone on deployment and I came back and this expansion that I had bought had finally released. So of course it installs and then I go to play it. I'm thinking that the main story, which is still the main story, it has never changed. They just keep layering shit on top of it. Would still be something that I could accomplish. But the moment my character like loads into the game, he's like sitting there and I summon my horse and then and now I'm on a boat. And it's like, "Oh, you're finally awake on this boat. We captured you while you were asleep, and now you're on your way to this other place to do the news story." And I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't even get an opportunity to like... there wasn't like an option. Every time an expansion comes out, and I don't know if it's just me, it forces you immediately into that storyline.
New content is where it's at, bro. Fuck all that old content.
Because now, like, the original game was you start off in Cold Harbor, and you have to fight your way out of Cold Harbor to get back into the world as a, like, fractured soul individual. Like, part of you're carrying your soul around, essentially, in a soul gem. And I thought that was cool. I loved fighting in Cold Harbor, because you get to meet fucking, what's his name, who's voiced by,
yeah, you get to meet the knight.
What's his name?
Sir,
God damn it. It's
John Cleese.
And I love it so much because he's so weird.
And he's in the whole game. He's in like the whole base game. And I love that they got John Cleese for that. It's funny as hell.
Dude, Elder Scrolls is one of those games. Them and Fable have always been good about getting good voice actors, like voice cameos. Because I didn't realize this. Fable 3, your older brother in that whole game was Michael Fassbender.
Really?
Yeah, like pre-X-Men. So like they got him like way early in his career. And it's super cool. And then John Cleese is your butler in that one too.
Just so
there's a lot of I love it so much. But yeah, so like you fight through Cold Harbor. Okay, so I start a new character because again I like to do the roleplay thing. I made a set of brothers. In my original playthrough on the PS4, I was one brother. PC, I'm another brother, following a similar path, but they're like, one's like a flame swordsman and the other one is an ice archer. You know, we do that kind of thing. Okay, well, the issue is I can't get back to Cold Harbor. I cannot get back to Cold Harbor for the life of me because this character was created after the expansions, which changes how the game starts.
It does.
I don't know how. They're literally like, just follow the fucking quest line, bro. Yeah, only if you have the vanilla game can you follow. Fuck. Just like, I want to go back.
Let me go back.
I hate it. ESO has the worst delivery system for expansions.
Yeah.
Opposite of that, though, Guild Wars 2 has a fantastic expansion delivery system. How they introduce it in the narrative, and they give you the option to get there when you get there. I am not immediately summoned into Satan's asshole to fight the big bad. Immediately, like, oh, you
did it now.
Did it. And then the game that I still play, Dragon Nest, pisses me off because they're like, hey, you've missed a couple of updates. Story has changed and progressed as we've retconned things and changed things. So they're like, do you just want to skip all the shit that you would have needed to do between then and there? You can just click this button right here.
Absolutely.
And we'll just give you the experience we assumed you would have gotten. So I went from like level 99, which was the cap at the beginning of like right before Identity Games took over. And then when I hit yes, I jumped to level 205.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, what the fuck? I just missed 90% of the game and the story. Like, what is going on?
That's not worth it.
So, I know that's not the point of this podcast, but that's
okay. It's okay. This is a random tangent, a rangent.
We're still in the step cousin of the thing we normally do.
Yeah, we're still related.
It's like, and I've never played WoW because like when that was a thing back in the day, like I didn't have an access to a PC that had internet faster than the speed of smell and fucking, a graphics processor or card of any kind whatsoever. So I could barely run YouTube videos. So how was that for like expansions? Because like the people were really excited when those
WoW did well because they gave you plenty of time to level up, and then in a few of their newer expansions they introduced, okay, we realize how far the levels have gone. We're going to give you the option to boost a character up to the base level for this new expansion, which was kind of helpful because like you had a lot of people who carried their mains up and then were able to like try out an alt in the new expansion, which was great. And they've always handled the expansions really well. They do like pre-patch shit like the month before where they introduce like quest lines that lead up to. Like I did like that about WoW, was their expansion handling was very, I thought, seamless to a point. At least I think the last one I played was Battle for Azeroth. I didn't finish it, but I got like a little bit through the in-game content for the raids and stuff. But like they did like a bunch of quest lines prefacing how the new expansion was going to go down. They introduced like new characters, new races and shit, the new land that you could go visit. They did like special events that would only happen in the first 2 weeks before the expansion came out. And it was all pretty good. I mean, Legion was the height of WoW, I think, for everyone in recent memory. It was like they've got a bunch of expansions, but the best ones were Vanilla, then you've got Wrath of the Lich King, then you got Legion. And then I think they're still waiting on a really good one after Legion because they've had 2 already.
So what was the Panda thing?
That was Mists of Pandaria, and we don't talk about that.
I remember people being really hyped for it, and then they realized that the panda in the advertisement was actually a playable race, and they were like, oh.
Like, I've done something with the camera. I've enlarged it on me, which I'm not a fan of. I fixed it. It was. I like the lore in all of the expansions up until Battle for Azeroth. Like I've loved the storyline. I loved all that shit. It was basically ripped from a bunch of H.P. Lovecraft, otherworldly entity names, but it was good. And I played Pandaria, didn't like it, and then like I went back and played through it at a higher level to get like the story content. It was actually like I liked it. I liked how they tied things in. It wasn't a well optimized expansion. It was very weird. It felt like they shoehorned a bunch of shit in just to get a point across. Like it didn't. The lore made sense afterwards, and you could kind of piece shit together, but it was just it's not the best expansion. They introduced a new class and a new race, and that was cool, I guess, but it wasn't. It took a while for both of those to get optimized to a level that people could actually play them on a regular basis. So, it was meh. It was meh. Coming off a Cataclysm too, people were really Cataclysm was like love it or hate it. I didn't mind it, just because they changed a lot of the face of the world. They did a lot of world changing that not a lot of people were expecting. So I think people were expecting something great after that, and Pandaria just was like, it was like flat. It was like, okay, this is interesting and cool, but not as good as what we'd hoped for. And then, of course, Warlords of Draenor after that was just absolute shit. It got shit on so much because they introduced like a mobile app companion, which like was really shitty. They introduced like The garrison feature, which no one really liked and wasn't optimized all that well, and you had to spend hours to get anything out of. Just a bunch of shit. And it was a time travel one, which I think everyone automatically is against a time travel aspect to a game that's already have a long established lore, because they retconned a bunch of shit, they added a bunch of shit, they pulled old characters that had died, they killed characters that hadn't died. It was just like time travel, great time to do that right now. No one liked it.
There's a lot of problems when people introduce time travel to anything. It can be really good, but again,
it's got to be handled really well.
Isolated settings. If the whole point, and again we can drag this back to D&D, if the whole point of the campaign is to include time travel, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because narratively, you're not retconning things. That is going to happen.
Exactly.
You're not changing the lore of something. You are creating the lore, which is including time travel to be part of the lore.
Yeah.
When you have something that's been established for 10, 15 years, and you're like, you remember that first boss you killed way back in the first expansion? We've decided to make him now even 3 times more powerful and make him the new bad guy again. How do we do that? We send an evil lord back in the past. He thinks he's going to bring that guy into subservitude. Fun fact, he absorbs that guy's power, and now he's 3 times as powerful, and it changes history. Basically. And it's like, okay, that's just how you reuse assets without having to like argue why we did that. It's like, I don't feel like creating any new characters. Let's just reuse the old one.
Yeah, it's a little bit messy.
You take the model, you paint it gold, and now it's the gold bad guy.
Surprise! It's new and improved, or worse. Who knows?
It's usually worse. I can. But that's honestly though, like some of these expansions though, kind of coincide with like the fall of Blizzard though. Because that was obviously like one of the oldest
struggling
properties
right now. And Blizzard had all that issue with the racism and the sexism and the bias.
Fucking Cosbygate.
Yeah.
Like, what random fucking. But
it was just bad.
To the other side, though, is like Blizzard started really going downhill when Activision acquired them, because Blizzard kind of treated themselves the same way Bungie did, because Activision once again owned Bungie. I remember being able to launch Destiny off of the fucking Blizzard launcher.
Yeah.
And something about having a parent conglomerate just weakens the product as a whole.
Yeah.
It's like EA. Like, EA used to be a thing that people looked forward to releasing games, and now it's just like anytime you see EA attached to anything, especially... It's
microtransactions. Everyone just starts yelling microtransactions because they fucked themselves so up. And Battlefront, like, God, it was so badly optimized.
What kills me is that, like, microtransactions are so bad now that it's actually becoming a normal thing in businesses outside of gaming.
Yeah.
Did you hear about BMW?
With the seat heat.
The heated seat.
The heated seat is $18 a month.
Subscription.
To remove a software block, you have to pay $18 a month. It comes with the equipment. It comes with the mechanics. It comes with the ability to do it. There's a software block that you have to pay $18 a month.
You know what this is gonna mean now, right? We've now entered the age where you can get a pirated copy of your car.
Yeah, basically. I'm gonna 3D print.
Somebody's gonna invent a USB port plug-in that you put and you plug your phone into it and you download this app for $60 and it just constantly blocks the feed from the satellite that tells your car. You can't do it.
That's ridiculous.
And now you just never go to a BMW dealer. You get your maintenance done at a third party.
It's a black market unlock
happen,
my
it's the
car
same way
seat.
Of like people found out how to do like hacks for Pandora radio on your car. So it's like having a what do they call it? A jailbroken Fire Stick.
Yeah, or an iPhone.
But for your vehicle, like you can literally just go in and be like, yeah, I have a subscription to Pandora. I really don't, but it's this thing I'm using that tricks it into.
You don't know I don't. Ha!
Like I'm picturing like a weird dystopia where everything's normal, but we've just found out ways to pirate everything because we have to, like a pirated toaster because I have to pay a subscription to have my toast be slightly crispier than a specific amount, or also to take off the fucking brand design where Sears logo pops up on my toast because that's who's fucking running the advertisement. Fucking
every time.
Can you imagine that? We're like, everything you do, like to open your fridge, you have to watch a 10-second ad.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. I mean, that's the point we're gonna get to.
Well, see, again, you saw the FCC, or did you see the FCC thing where they approved the international ad space thing?
Yeah, I did see that.
So now things like drive-thrus.
Yep.
Like before you order at McDonald's or Taco Bell, before they can even say hi, welcome.
Before you can give them their money, they're already gonna get, because I don't have anywhere else to get a super cheap taco.
Literally, as you pull up, the first thing you see is O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and it's like, What the fuck, bro? I gotta watch an ad to order food.
I can't handle that. We're approaching dangerous levels of dystopian society.
Well, like the craziest one, right? Because this already exists. This is a thing that exists that you can buy right now. TVs with ads baked into the software.
Yeah.
So just on plug-in, no internet connection. 15-second ad for a Chinese car company that you can't even buy.
Yeah.
Built into the TV. There's no way around it. That is a thing the FCC just approved. Every time you turn on your television, 30-second ad. Just to watch TV. You are paying to watch ads on a thing that you can already own. Which is the thing that blows my mind. Because what's the benefit to us?
Yeah.
Right? They already listen to us. Like, it's already putting shit on Facebook, and like every time you pull up your browser, there's an ad. What is the benefit to adding advertisements to shit that can't physically sell me something? In order to open my fridge, I gotta watch a Dairy Queen commercial. Okay, I don't have Dairy Queen in my fucking fridge. I'm not gonna stop opening my fridge and go, you know what, you're right, Dairy Queen is better than whatever the fuck I was gonna get out of my fridge. I don't... The only way in my mind that any of this would make sense is if it cut the cost of something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Think
like I can get a discount or something.
You never have to pay a power bill again. It is completely paid for by advertising. Everything that you have in your house subsidizes the cost of something else. So in order to use your toaster, you have to have a brand printed on the side of your fucking toast. I don't give a shit. I didn't have to pay
I honestly
for the bread.
wouldn't mind that, to be fair. Like I think that would be fine.
Right, okay. You want advertising to be like it was in like cyberpunk bullshit where they can put it fucking everywhere? Where,
in
like,
your
I look
dreams.
at my fucking wrist and
it's
there's
like a
fucking
Futurama
tattoo
episode
of a company. Subsidize something in my life. Make it worth having the ads. Mobile games suck, but watching the 10-second ad lets me play the game uninterrupted for an hour. Cool. That's a quid pro quo of benefit to reward to risk. Putting an advertisement at the beginning of the fucking drive-thru does not benefit me in any way.
Not in any way.
Better get a fucking $5 coupon or some shit for that burger if I gotta watch a 30-second ad before I can act on ordering food.
That's where we're getting, though. It's a little bit atrocious. But
well, it doesn't... It's like... this is like saying that like fucking fire doesn't realize it's burning people when it, like we can just not stick our hand in the fire. But it's like companies have gotten so anti-consumer, it boggles my mind. But it's because we'll buy whatever fucking crap they put out there though. Like we're not doing anything about it. People are like, why the fuck is a plastic fork $7 for a box? Like I remember it was $1. Well, it's because when they made it $7, dumbass people keep buying them. Guess what? You stop fucking buying them, the prices go down because they're going to try to market them to you. I just, that kind of shit riles me up, man.
It's all good. I mean, it's a good talk. I think we're nearing the end here.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's about 10 o'clock here. I think it's okay. It's a day early, and I think that we're going to be fine. This has been What's in the Dungeon podcast with Murph and Jon. If you have questions, please submit them to our Twitter, which is the same as the name of the podcast, or to our Gmail.
We have a Discord,
which is also the same as the podcast.
At some point,
yes,
there is a section on the Discord specifically for topic suggestions. We have stuff for party requests. If you have people that you want to play D&D with, or maybe you meet some people in the Discord you like, you can actually get together and set up groups. You can literally play right here in the Discord. There's nothing wrong with that. We post events coming up. If we ever decide to go to conventions or something like that, that'll be there. But yeah, so that's an option for you. We have an email that is also linked somewhere that you can reach out to us if you don't use social medias in that sense. Though
But we'll be here hopefully next Wednesday. Today is a Tuesday, so we're going a little bit early. Then the episode from last week will be going up tonight on YouTube, and then hopefully right after will be this one. If you have any questions, again, reach out, let us know. This is the podcast. Final question, Murph. Do you have one?
So I've sort of in the background here contemplating what next week's episode should be, and I think that's something that you mentioned earlier would be the right one. So when a novice is coming into a group with the DM, what is the biggest hurdle about meshing a new player into an established group?
Okay. I like that question. I will have an answer next week.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for joining us, whoever did join us. We appreciate your continued support.
And I promise I'll ramble infinitely less next week.
It's okay. We'll have some questions next week.
Look, John and I don't get to hang out that much.
No, so this is like just the timed event. It's all good. But take care. Have a great rest of your night, everyone. And thank you for watching. Bye.
See you.